Hi guys, welcome to the Luminous Stat and Skill Guide. As the title suggests, and as I just mentioned, we'll be going over the proper stats that Luminous requires, as well as a good skill build. So first off, we have Intelligence. That's going to be our primary stat. What that does is, it increases attack and MP. What it fails to mention is that it actually increases critical chance. By the time you get to around 100 to 200 points of intelligence, you're gonna have 100% critical at that point. So that's really great for optimizing damage and increasing it. Your secondary stat will be Dexterity. So Dexterity's main point is to add to defense. It does say that it increases attack, but it's not going to be that much. You're going to need to add maybe 5 points into Dexterity to add 1 point of attack. So if you want to increase attack, go for Intelligence. If you need defenses, go for Dexterity. My recommendation is to go all out Intelligence. So the reason why you don't want defenses is because a later skill that I'll go over, it actually, it's all the defenses that you need. So yeah, I'll go over that later. Skills. So we have Sunfire, Eclipse, Permeate, Equilibrium, Power of Light, and Flash Blink. So the main gimmick of Luminous is that there is Light Mode and Dark Mode. So Light Mode, also called Sunfire. When you're in this mode, you have an increased damage for light skills of 50%. Additionally, its secondary effect says that it increases HP by 1% every time you use a light skill, but that's really useless. So next is Dark Mode or Eclipse. So while you're in Eclipse, you're gonna have 50% more damage for the dark moves that you actually use. The secondary effect, which is the more useful one of the two, is that every time you use a dark skill while in dark mode, you don't use any MP. So this is probably the better mode to train in, because you don't want to use all that many MP potions every time you use a skill. Next we have Permeate, which is 50% damage, that's great. And the last mode that we have for Luminous is Equilibrium. So once you use enough light or dark skills cumulatively, you're gonna get into a mode called Equilibrium. So there's a third set of attributes for a certain type of active skill. There's light mode, dark mode, and equilibrium skills. So with equilibrium, if you use equilibrium type skills, you're gonna have 100% extra damage for those skills specifically. And because they do so much damage, they normally have a cooldown, but being in equilibrium, you're going to be able to spam that for the duration that equilibrium is, which is about 5 seconds. It's not that much, but hey, you get to spam a skill that would otherwise be on a cooldown. Next is Power of Light. So the main thing for here is the Intelligence plus 20, that's really nice. And lastly, we have Flash Blink. So it's pretty much if there's an enemy nearby you and you use Flash Blink, then you'll teleport right to the enemy. It's alright for training, but you shouldn't really incorporate it into your training just because you're not going to be able to use it in dungeons. Or you can, but you're not going to have enough skills. Okay, first job. So as I was talking about for the Dexterity and why you should get it, it's because of standard Magic Guard. So this is the passive, which directs 85% of the damage you would otherwise take to HP into MP. So if you were to take 1000 damage normally, you would take, with Magic Guard, 850 damage towards MP, and then 150 damage to actual HP. So that's really good for defenses. It's gonna increase your survivability by so much because of that. So additionally, it also increases defense by 20, so not bad. Next, we have Light Magic Enhancement and Dark Magic Enhancement. So with these two skills, you can only max one of them, or you can only add points into one of them. I personally feel that Dark Magic attack is better. Light skills are used for mobbing and training, so they're not all that they don't do all that much damage. Dark skills, on the other hand, are your main bossing skills and your damaging skills, so obviously you're going to want to increase that just to make it even stronger. Related to these skills are Twinkle Flash and Abyssal Drop. So if you do decide to add into one of these skills, you're gonna need, if you do decide to add one of these active skills, you're gonna need to add 1 point into either of these. And since you can only have one or the other, if you choose Dark Magic Enhancement, you're gonna need, or you can only max Abyssal Drop. If you choose Light Magic Enhancement, you can only max Twinkle Flash. Regardless, I personally don't feel that either of these skills are necessary, just because there are second job skills that are gonna completely make this skill worthless. These skills aren't needed for a prerequisite at all, so once you get to second job, you're not gonna use these skills at all ever again, so it'd just be a waste of points depending on how many points you decide to invest in it. So if you can, just auto-combat everything the first 41 levels, but if you really can't do it without it, then you can add a few points, but you're gonna need to reset after that. Next thing we have is Light Speed. So it's pretty much a teleport, or your double jump for this class. I feel that Light Speed should be maxed, but other people do have it at 1. It's really up to you and how your gameplay is, but if you do decide to max it, then I'll go over where to take the points from, because points are limited for Luminous. Lastly, the one buff for first job, Mana Extension. So, Mana Extension, the buff itself isn't good, but we're gonna add 10 points into it, just because it's a requisite for another skill. Second job, at level 41 I believe. So, the passives. First, we have Spell Mastery. The increases in stats from the skill isn't all that great, but like other skills, it's used as a requisite. So we'll leave it at that. High Wisdom. This isn't a requisite for anything, but for little points and high stat amount, of course I'm going to put 5 points in for 40 intelligence. It's a great amount of extra damage just for little points. And last passive, Blessing of Darkness. So what Blessing of Darkness does is when you don't get hit for 5 seconds, an orb will appear. What this orb does is it increases damage by 10 attack. You can have up to 3 of these at one time, so if you don't get hit for 15 seconds, then you'll have plus 30 attack for no reason, which is really awesome. If you do get hit though, an orb will disappear, but at a reduced damage by about 30% at level 1 I believe. So, I mean, for 30 attack for not getting hit, it's totally worth it, and you get the reduced amount of damage if you get hit. So that's really good. The main reason why we only want 1 point in it, 1 point in it is because I don't believe the attack increases at all, only the decreased damage, because I already have 3 points in it, and at level 1, it's only attack plus 10 per orb. Level 3, it's still attack plus 10 per orb, so regardless, we probably wouldn't max it anyway, just because, like I said, Luminous is on a tight build. There's not many points to go around. Next, the one buff that we have for second job is Magic Booster. Contrary to what the name says, it doesn't increase magic speed. It only increases attack speed, which is only affected by the auto combat for Luminous, so it's not going to be useful otherwise. You can count that out. Next, we have active skills. First, Blinding Pillar. So, Luminous is known for its great mobbing skills, and Blinding Pillar is pretty much a testament to that, but because Luminous has so many mobbing skills that do high damage, you're not going to need to mob them up before you kill them. You can just kill them on the spot. So, Blinding Pillar is pretty much useless at that point. Next is Sylvan Lance and Pressure Void. These are both at level 10 strictly because it's only used as a prerequisite for another skill later on. It's gonna be your main attacking skill for second job, so yeah, you should probably max that as soon as possible. Next is third job, and third job is at level 71. First off, the one passive that we have for third job is Lunar Tide. So what this does, if your MP is greater than your HP, then your damage will increase by 1%. At max, your damage will increase by 20%, which is a really high amount. It'd be really good, but the thing is, more often than not, your MP will be lower than your HP. And the reason why this is because of standard magic guard. When you take hits, you're gonna have a reduction in MP. And because of that, since the percentage is so high of what it takes, you're gonna have lower MP pretty much all the time. So you're gonna have that extra critical rate because your MP is lower than your HP instead of the damage. So that pretty much makes Lunar Tide useless, so we can count that out. Next, the buffs. First, we have Poetic Meditation, and that's where Mana Extension comes in. You need 10 points in Mana Extension to be able to add Poetic Meditation. So this skill itself isn't all that great. It's not bad, but it's gonna be a requisite. It's gonna be a prerequisite for another skill later on. The next two buffs, they have their own uses, but I don't feel that it's necessary to put any points in them. What Anti-Magic Shell does is, once you get hit, it'll prevent 3 status inflictions. Once you get hit with 3 status inflictions, then it'll be on cooldown for 10 minutes. What can I say? You normally don't run into problems with status inflictions, so for one, it's pretty much defending you against nothing, and for two, the cooldown is so long, so it's not going to be useful at that point. Next, we have Light Shadow Guard. So this isn't a bad skill for defenses. Like I said, Magic Guard should do you well enough. If you do need the extra defense and you plan to reset later, then this isn't a bad option because by level 10, you're going to have an extra 100 defense, which can be really helpful. It can make or break your training process. So that's there if you need it. Next are the active skills. So we have Spectral Light, Shrine of Redemption, Moonlight Spear, and Death Scythe. Shrine of Redemption. So what this does is you do some damage and you heal your party members around you. It doesn't heal that much and it doesn't do that much, so no, we're not maxing anything. We're not putting 1 point in there. Next, Spectral Light and Moonlight Spear. So these are maxed because, once again, it's a prerequisite for another skill later on, and in and of itself, these skills aren't that bad. Like, I actually use Spectral Light in dungeons, or when I'm doing Mulung Dojo, just because it's a better bossing skill. And Moonlight Spear, it's a great training, skill for third job. And yeah. Death Scythe. So this is the first introduction of equilibrium skills. You're actually not gonna get to, or actually, I'm not sure if you get the light and dark meter at first and second job, but in any case, you're gonna be able to take advantage of equilibrium status in third and fourth job because you finally have one skill that you can use, Death Scythe. So it has a cooldown of 24 seconds, and like I said with equilibrium, when you're in equilibrium, you have no cooldown, so you're able to spam this a good amount, and it's at an extra 100% damage, so it's really good, and it has great range too. So I'll explain it in a later skill that explains why Death Scythe will probably be your best skill. So, fourth job. Level 108, I believe. There's Magic Mastery and Darkness and Mastery as your passives. So, let's start off with Magic Mastery. So first off, we have Attack plus 30, and the main thing, critical attack plus 15%. critical attack is your main source of damage, or it's the best attribute to increase your damage. So the fact that this skill increases that attribute means that you should hands down max it no matter what. So it should be one of the first things that you max. Next is Darkness Mastery. So what this does, it increases equilibrium duration by 5 seconds. So you're able to spam equilibrium skills with no cooldown for a longer period of time, which is really great. And the secondary effect, excuse me, it increases Death Scythe attack by 100%. So you're essentially doing double damage. And because of that, Death Scythe, it just does so much damage now. It ends up out DPSing Ender, which I maxed just to show you guys the damage that it does at max. It does 360 8 times. Death Scythe, on the other hand, does 230 6 times. But because it's double damage, it's going to do 460 damage 6 times, and that does more than Ender. Death Scythe is an area of effect attack, which means it has a wide range. But Ender is mostly for bossing, yet Death Scythe does more damage. So because of that, Death Scythe is more better because of Darkness Mastery, and you're not going to need Ender. In another video, I discussed what Dark Crescendo and Darkness Sorcery was all about, so I'm not gonna really go into depth as much as they did in the other videos, but I'm gonna leave it at saying Darkness Sorcery is what you're gonna need to max. And Photic Meditation is the prerequisite, or the requisite to be able to put points into Darkness Sorcery. Next, the active skills. So we have Light Reflection, Apocalypse, Morningstar, and Ender. So like I said, Ender, you're not going to need it just because Death Scythe just gets so strong because of Darkness Mastery. Morningstar, it's kind of like Blinding Pillar, but it does damage. And same rationale as why you didn't match Blinding Pillar, you don't need that mobbing function. Reflection and Apocalypse. So, like I was saying with Dark Magic skills, Apocalypse is going to be your main damaging and bossing skill. So that's why we maxed the Dark Magic Enhancement. It's essentially a must to add to max, just because it's your spammable Dark Magic attack. It's going to be pretty much your best friend when it comes to doing anything. In fact, when you do dungeons, when you do dojo, when you're bossing, it's your all around, I forget what it's called. It's pretty much good for all situations, essentially. Next and last is Light Reflection. So, going back to Teleport, this is where the 9 points comes from if you do choose to max Teleport. It'll come from Reflection. And the reason why I would choose to max Teleport over Reflection is just because the 9 points in Reflection don't add that much. And in any case, you're either going to be one-hitting or two-hitting all the mobs in dungeons or when you're training, so that extra damage won't be beneficial at all. And plus, mobility it's the second best thing to attack, to invest in. So Teleport's always great to max. Or your double jump for that matter. In this case, for Luminous, it's going to be Teleport. So yeah, that's the skill guide. Any last remarks? So recap, you're going to want to invest most of your points into Intelligence. And let's go over what we're maxing. So, as a disclaimer, the skills that I already have preset aren't there for good. I'm gonna reset it later. I'll probably reset it by the end of this video just to show you guys an accurate representation of what it should be set at. I just use these to test out what these skills actually do. But yeah, let's tidy this up. We'll be back in a bit. Alright, so I'm back. I maxed everything that I should have. one last recap. So, max intelligence, if possible. If you need dexterity, it's there. And yeah, I'll just show you guys the skills that I put. There we go. And that concludes our stat and skill guide. So I apologize if I started a lot. I'll probably get better at it, I'll be less disorganized, but in any case, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos and guys, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya!